This is dropped on a wall past Wednesday, Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here, John here, you there. We put out the bat signal for a bunch of different folks doing a bunch of different things. We'll see if the real world does not intervene. We could have a couple of folks, hoping to have Dylan Butler traditionally, as we always do at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday. But with school starting and youngins that have to be taken to school, we'll see what happens there. But in a no dilly, no dally zone as we are here, we do have our version of Ricky Henderson this morning, and we ain't messing around because Lucas Panzica had a late night, and we mean this in the most positive, literal sense known to mankind. The play-by-play voice of Nashville SC on 104.5 up in Nashville. All right, so go ahead and flash the T. Go ahead and flash it. Go ahead and show it. There we go. Come on.
The throat coat. We're on the same page on that one.
No doubt. I have in my travel bag. Literally, the bottom of the travel bag is in its entirety.
Good stuff.
Packets of throat coat tea, and everybody's sitting there. They're struggling. Else they go, hang on. You can go into the bag, hand it over. When did you officially, I guess, A, get off the air last night, and B, get home, and C, end up crashing? I guess is my first question.
Yeah, I guess we got off the air close to midnight, and I end up home at 12:30-ish, and yeah, falling asleep around 1:30. I mean, it was tough to fall asleep, man. That was the loudest I've ever heard that place. Totally wired. Yeah, what a night in Nashville. Truly, I mean that was I knew, it's one of those that you go home thinking like this isn't going to be a full 7 to 8 hours, and you're perfectly fine with that because you would take what happened on Tuesday night over anything.
No doubt. And I mean, it was Leagues Cup personified. And I think the big question going in was how full would the building be? How many Nashville fans would be there, and how many fans from a Liga MX side would be there? Because we didn't really get the full picture from the production aspects when we were watching it on television. How full a building was it, and how divided were the fans?
Officially, the attendance comes out as about 28,000, just under 28,000 in a 30,000 person stadium. Certainly the best attendance Nashville has had so far in Leagues Cup. And as far as the disparity between the fan bases, it was, to me, the perfect balance, John, because it was very much a Nashville home game. The majority of the fans there were certainly Nashville. The minority of Monterrey fans were a very vocal minority, but they were there. Their presence was felt. It was kind of this perfect balance where it wasn't really overwhelming, but it was just enough to make it a really tense environment. It wasn't quite like Club America. That's just a different animal, right? When you talk about Liga MX fan bases. I mean, my goodness, the chaos that was at Geodis Park with that fan base about a week ago. So this was not that. We didn't quite anticipate that, but the Monterrey fans showed up. They showed out. They were loud. They were present. But that supporter section was packed to the gills 40 minutes before kickoff, which I hadn't seen yet at Geodis Park or at a Nashville SC game. I mean, drums thumping, singing while we're getting on the air. We get on the air about 39 minutes before kick. And the crowd noise made it sound like we're in the 60th minute or something when we're opening up the pregame show. So environment was absolutely electric, without a doubt, the loudest I've ever heard that place.
And it showed early, but as some of our folks already who are dialing us up in the Twitch pitch are venting spleens and spacing out their shoulder blades after what happened. It was stuff that you and I got to talk about in the green room before we came on the air. Tom Russo, I can't remember ever watching a match where a referee got two calls so horribly wrong, yet in the end, you felt justice was done. Hani Mukhtar comes on Instagram after the match, and he's going, can someone please explain this to me? And then the Lucas McNaughton call, where we're sitting thinking, okay, well, if you didn't get the Mukhtar one, then the McNaughton one, which you really thought you were going to get penal. And I mean, what's going through your mind in the booth with these?
Yeah, the Mukhtar goal, certainly a shame because, I mean, that is, I would say, Hani's prettiest strike of the season. That guy's capable of some insane things, but just as far as a picturesque goal, that you want to put up on your wall a shot of or continue to replay, just that curling far post effort, just gorgeous. And what a way to put Nashville in front. Yeah, I mean, Alex Moyle, you kind of advances on Sebastian Andrada, the goalkeeper, and And for me, it's probably just the fact that Moyle just gives the slightest little jump towards that ball. In my mind, Andrade's already diving left while that's happening. I mean, his eyes are totally fixed on the ball. I don't think that Alex actually makes an impact there, but I suppose I can see the reasoning. The McNaughton call, huge turning point. I mean, as soon as that happened, when Castellanos, the official, comes away from the monitor and just says, no penalty and Nashville can go ahead, you see Dax McCarty run up to Lucas McNaughton and just kind of grab him by the chest and shake him and shout some things into his face. And everybody's so fired up. And then they turn around and just kind of that look on Dax's face. I think that was a huge turning point in this game. I think that was the point where even maybe Nashville players were thinking, okay, is this about to happen? Are we going to see this for a second time tonight? Oh, the answer is no. Let's go win this thing.
And you end up coming out on the end of the scale, which means that you get another match with some dude named Messi. I don't know if you've heard of him, or Busquets or Jordi Alba, some dudes that have apparently done pretty well. I mean, when it comes to this run, I mean, especially going through all of the I'm just going to go ahead and use it, just the wildness. That's the word I'm going to use with the Club America match. And let me go back to that for a second, because my brain and squirrel. Club America match. Have you ever been in a situation that has been as crazy as that one, either covering something or behind the mic for something?
No, not at all. And so our situation at 104.5 The Zone as the radio partner for Nashville Soccer Club.
Excellent plug. Nice.
There you go. We have two play-by-play broadcasters. It's myself and Will Bowling. Will Bowling is on our morning show at the station. I'm on the midday show at the station. And we kind of rotate around. Jalilani Baba, MLS veteran, played for Nashville a couple years. He's our analyst for each and every game. So Will was on the call for that game, in the Club America game. And I kind of love this arrangement we have, because it gives me the opportunity every odd game to go as a fan. And that was one that, yes, I certainly would have, had the pleasure to call and love doing that. But I was not terribly upset that I got to experience that one from a fan's perspective. I'm just in the building and taking it all in. And let me tell you, John, that might have been the craziest finish to any game in any sport I've ever witnessed in person. Besides the Sam Surridge debut goal and the final touch of the game in the 9th minute of stoppage time, like that was the third craziest thing that happened that night. And then it goes to penalties, and the penalty shootout goes on, and Jack Mayer steps up, having to convert. His penalty is saved. And then I left. I was there with a friend, and we walked out of the stadium just kind of talking, man, what a crazy game. And, appreciate you coming out. That was awesome, but, tough loss. But, just kind of reveling in what a insane match that was. And then we're starting to hear chatter. We haven't totally left the outside of the stadium yet and gone into the parking lots, and I'm hearing like whispers of people are retaking the penalty. And we just go back in, and fans are streaming back into the stadium. And we just walk back in, and I walk through the concourse, and when I walk up and I see the field come into view, I mean, it's chaos. I look to the left, and I see 13 fans running around on that side of the field. I look to the right, and I see a security guard down after suffering a non-contact injury, chasing one of the fans. There's a stretcher coming out for the security guard. There's beer showers and cups raining down from the upper deck. Yeah. I mean, complete pandemonium, just trying to process everything. And it was an eternity before they came out and actually said that the penalty would have to be retaken, that Malagón came off his line. And they do so when they announced that. Obviously, the Club America fans didn't take that lightly. In the end, I believe the final tally was 18 fans arrested for invading the pitch at Geodis Park. And then Jack steps up. He converts. Jonathan Dos Santos steps up, hits the crossbar, and then Dan Lovitz buries his penalty, and Nashville moves on to the Leagues Cup semifinal.
Two guys I want to talk to you about, and you mentioned both in that last Q&A here. Elliot Panico and Sam Surridge. I want to get into, and you can go dealer's choice, whoever you want to talk about first. Surridge, I know that the price tag a lot of folks might have stared at that price tag, bringing him over from Nottingham Forest, and there might have been the people's eyebrow that might have been raised with that particular purchase. And then Elliot Panico, who is traditionally a PK specialist that you bring in for the late sub in these situations. Not the first time in this tournament that has happened, but now Panico has taken that rhythm and he's become the starting keeper for this Leagues Cup run. When you look at those two guys, what have your observations been from the booth?
Sort of opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Sam Surridge, Nashville kind of had a target on his back for Nashville, and they saw him, they wanted him, fit absolutely everything Gary Smith wanted in a striker, in the physicality, the hold-up play, the ability to finish. And he's fit in pretty seamlessly. Obviously now at this point, 3 goals in 3 games, all coming in as second half substitutes. So you go get your designated player number 9, something that this club has been after now for a couple of years to really get right and get to that next level. So that was the big signing that this club has been pursuing. And then on the flip side of that, you have Elliot Panico, who's been backing up Joe Willis, who has had a fantastic resurgence in Nashville. I mean, he comes to this club in 2020 in that inaugural MLS season, and I think Joe Willis is having. Sorry, I think I skipped out on you there. I think Willis is having the best season of his career this year. He's second in the league at the moment, MLS regular season in save percentage, led the league for the majority of the year. So it's not necessarily about Joe Willis taking a step back, but you get into the Cincinnati game and it goes to shootout, and Matt Pickens, Nashville's goalkeeping coach, who won MLS Cup under Gary Smith and played for Nashville's USL version, he's pushing for Elliot to get in because he knows what Elliot is as a shot stopper in a penalty setting. And he pushes for it. Gary makes it happen. And then Nashville defeats Cincinnati, which is probably the turning point for me in this tournament for this team. Fast forward to Club America, and it's not really much of a discussion on the touchline. The game goes to penalties, and okay, this is just what happens now. Elliot comes in. And then Joe had to actually leave. He had to travel to deal with some personal family issues for the quarterfinal against Minnesota. So Elliot slots in, clean sheet. He gets the opportunity to start last night in the game against oh my goodness, my brain is totally fried. I just called this game against Monterrey. So I'm just reliving the last month or so. It's been a crazy July/August for this club. So look, when we return to MLS regular season play, I could be wrong. I anticipate Joe Willis coming back as this team's starting goalkeeper because he has done nothing to be unseated or to lose that job. But what a growing moment for Elliot Panico, the 26-year-old out of Paducah, Kentucky, went to college at Charlotte to play for the 49ers. Helping this club, achieve a moment of history in CONCACAF Champions League qualification and the opportunity to host Inter Miami for a cup final.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a tournament, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Bit of a tournament, hasn't it, Luke?
It has not disappointed in the slightest. Every game, even the games that have been routes, have just been entertaining from start to finish. Whether it's LAFC's entry into the tournament with a 7-1 win,
and their exit,
right, and their exit against Monterrey in the quarterfinal, or if it's just a scoreless gridlocked game between Monterrey and Tigres that just requires a stoppage time penalty in the final moments. None of these games, none of this tournament has hit a lull, and I think it's pretty much gone best case scenario.
How many people in your interactions coming into this tournament were anti-Leagues Cup? How many were pro-Leagues Cup? And how many have had their opinions turn to enjoying the tournament?
Yeah, I've seen some reaction, whether it be on social media or chatting with Nashville fans here and there that like, oh, come on, what is this competition? We're just making stuff up, yada, yada, yada. Like, and for me, it was never that deep. You know what I mean? Like they're just playing soccer. you're just playing soccer for trophies. I never looked into it that much. I never really understood that perspective of asking, what's the point? Well, this is the point. Nashville's going to be in CONCACAF Champions League next year. It's something that is, as you know, a very hard thing to accomplish in this league. Yeah. So, I mean, Lionel Messi is going to play in Nashville, Tennessee, in the Wedgwood neighborhood, south of downtown. So I think if you told anybody that 4 weeks ago or so, they would not be objecting to Leagues Cup as a whole. But also Nashville, kind of limped into Leagues Cup in a way. I mean, they were on their worst run of form in the regular season. They had lost 3 in a row. They had lost 5 of their last 6. So maybe Nashville fans were coming at it from that perspective of the timing wasn't great. Maybe they didn't love having to be put on pause for a month plus before trying to dig out of that tough stretch of form in regular season play. Nashville's still in a good spot in the Eastern Conference standings, but the way that they have just put a defibrillator into this 2023 campaign with this run, I can't wait to see, what it does down the stretch here when we get back into regular season play.
Michael Valverde, who's watching this morning, says Nashville's ball movement last night was amazing. Pace and precision in the attack I've not seen from them, and possess the ball well too. What do you think about that? When you look at what you got to see with ball movement last night going up against Monterrey, what were you looking at when it came to things on the offensive end?
Yeah, Monterrey is a side that can beat you both ways. They can possess the ball. They can be lethal on the counter. They're excellent in recovery. So I think Nashville went into the game looking for a balance between what they did against Toluca, losing in the group stage to Toluca, which was one of the most fun attacking sides of this tournament. But 4-3, I mean, you don't see that. It's happened once in the Gary Smith era against Toronto in Lorenzo Insigne's debut goal in 2022.
Everybody ran the next day at practice.
I can't imagine what it was like at the facility the next day. That is Gary Smith's worst nightmare, losing a game 4-3. So you had that very open, much more open than to Gary's liking. And then the Club America game, which was a bit more thoughtful on Nashville's end. They were certainly more disciplined, more organized, and still, making an impact in the attack. And so, Gary told us this week leading up to the Monterrey game, we need to find a balance. We need to find a hybrid between the two. And I think Nashville did that. They ceded possession. Ultimately, I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. I believe Monterrey had 67% possession, somewhere in that neighborhood in the 60s. Which makes sense. The last 10 or so minutes of that game is Monterrey just building wave after wave after wave, desperately trying to equalize. Mm-hmm. But Nashville has kind of gotten into this reputation at times of taking the lead and then just, sitting back. This team has found a way to pick its moments when up by a goal or two and absorbing all that pressure to find that pressure release valve. With the additions of Fafa Pico and Jacob Schaffelberg and now Sam Surridge last night, it's Fafa Pico making the difference there in the final moments, leaving no doubt. Last kick of the game is Pico roofing it to make it 2-0. So, yeah, I think the way Nashville was able to balance, yes, some spells of possession in Monterrey's half, but just not getting caught out. The recovery defending was the best so far in this tournament that Nashville has shown against the Monterrey side that, for me, John, going in, I said was the most quality side just from an individual quality perspective that Nashville's ever seen as a club. I mean, you're talking about almost 400 caps across the board on that roster. World Cups all over the place for Spain, Argentina, and Colombia and Mexico. So, yeah, I think they came in prepared. They did not leave themselves exposed, and they picked their moments and converted them.
Any early returns on Schaffelberg, considering he left the match early?
Haven't heard anything on Jacob Schaffelberg. That was interesting because it was nothing really that we noticed, I mean, maybe you saw him get up laboring a bit, but nothing out of the ordinary. And then suddenly in the 16th minute, Fafa Pico is at the touchline and coming in. So, obviously something not quite right there. Not sure. We do not have any status on Jacob Schaffelberg. I suppose we'll learn more today for the final on Saturday. He's had a great tournament, 5 assists, I believe, for Jacob Schaffelberg. So he's kind of taken on that role of a provider with his crossing ability from that left flank. But, Fafa Pico adds a lot of similar elements when it comes to speed. I think Pico is an excellent dribbler and finisher and a little bit more experienced. So, Jacob Schaffelberg being out would be a huge blow. I do not know if that's the case. But you feel good about what you have with Fafa Pico and the impact that he's had in this tournament as well with his 2 goals.
So then does this mean that Wes is calling the match and you're going to be kind of hanging out and doing pre, half, and post, or are you guys going to battle it out at the studio?
The battle royale when I get into the building. No, it's Will Bowling, which is it's a very easy mistake to make. His older brother Wes.
Oh, Yeah, Will.
I know. Listen, buddy, you are not the first one. So Will's older brother Wes used to be the play-by-play voice of the team, and now here the games go over to the zone, and myself and Will are sharing the load. But trust me, you are not alone in that. It's funny, if Will and Wes called a game together, you would think it's a solo call. Those guys, so it is pretty cool, though. I think that torch kind of being passed down. But Will's on the call for this one. And I just can't wait to take it in. I mean, truly, it's a surreal moment for everybody in Nashville, for soccer fans. I think just generally in the state of Tennessee, where even 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like this would have been a pipe dream. Just something that you wake up from, not something that's going to be happening at Geodis Park on Saturday night.
Looking forward to it, and obviously. Lucas at Lucas Panzica on the Twitters. So keep an eye on him. He's going to be taking a lot of pictures from the press box with the backs of a lot of dudes' heads. Hey, I'm here. Look at this. Look at this. And get your scarves. Get your game day scarf. Get all your stuff. Make sure that you have all the photos and everything. Cut the promo for me for all the coverage that goes on there at 104.5 with you and everybody else.
Yeah, 104.5 The Zone, at 104.5 The Zone on Twitter. I'm at Lucas Panzica on Twitter. We'll be covering the lead up to this match on Saturday. Nashville hosting Miami in the Leagues Cup final at 8 p.m. on Saturday night. You can listen on the 104.5 The Zone app as well. 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time for you folks in Atlanta. And I just can't wait to one of those days where I know I've hardly had any sleep, but you just can't wait to get to work, right? We're going to be talking Titans preseason football and training camp and joint practices with the Vikings, but I cannot wait to get to work and open up the show just reliving what happened last night.
That's going to be fun. And so we're going to make an early claim for you on Monday.
Let's do it.
Monday to talk about everything, the experience, and bring you back batting lead off. And our buddy Bam, who watches and listens from Australia, is suggesting make sure Messi gets a dodgy dinner before the game.
Maybe I could think of a couple of places in Nashville to send Messi.
There you go. All right. So get your tea. Make sure that you're overdosing on that, and save the voice and save the pipes, because I know that you're going to be yelling from the booth when you're not doing play-by-play in the weekend. Lucas, thanks for batting lead off this morning.
Hey, appreciate it, John. See ya.
All right. That's Lucas Panzica. He had a busy night, and so he got in a nap, and he called the match last night on 104.5 The Zone as Nashville beats Monterrey in Leagues Cup to get to the Leagues Cup final. Technology permitting, it looks like we're going to have Bart Keeler hanging out with us to discuss Women's World Cup, because I don't know if you heard there, but we have a final. And we had the second semifinal early this morning, and England. And so this probably means that Jessica Charman is a nervous wreck, and she will be between now and Sunday. So we will catch up with Bart when he can join us through technology. He's doing some family stuff. He's doing family things, and we'll get into that with him as well. But we've got a final. It is Spain and England, and I think Jason had this one picked correctly. Spain and England. I think he had that one on AST. So, there were chances. First off, England gets a lead, and I think that England probably learned a lot about itself in this match. England gets a lead. They're thinking, okay, yeah, we're going to see it out. And then all of a sudden, Sam Kerr with a thunderbolt. You're tied at 1. Then England gets another one on the board to make it 2-1, final 15, 20 minutes. Australia's pushing, and they had chances. 2 Sam Kerr chances that went over the bar. And as Australia is chasing, it ends up with England getting the third, and we end up with a 3-1 final, and wasting. Wow, man, I was like, he's in a car. Hopefully, you're a passenger, sir.
Yeah, I'm a passenger. The college boy is driving.
Just checking. I wanted to make sure, because, if you are going to be on this show, we always believe in safe guesting around here.
No, I have my chauffeur for the day. No, I'm kidding. He wants to drive. He's driving his car down, heading to Milledgeville.
Georgia Milledge, GMC, baby.
Yeah, got the third of 3 to move in this year. The last one, so it's a bittersweet day.
Well, When this tournament started, sir, who did you have in your Final Four?
Well, not, I don't think I had any of my Final Four correct. No, I did. I had Sweden, USA, France, Germany, I believe.
Okay.
Some of those worked out. Most of them didn't. I wasn't sure how England was going to deal with all the injuries they had, but it seems like having a competent head coach makes you a better team. I hope the U.S. women try that next time around.
All right, so let's see. We got a minute into the conversation before you're doing your Vlatko discussion. Not a surprise at all.
Well, he's still employed, so until he's unemployed, we're going to have the discussion. John.
Oh, absolutely. No, I know exactly how this works. So I was doing the Cliff's Notes version of the match, and it was England's up. England thinks, okay, everything's cool. We can see this out. Sam Kerr does what Sam Kerr does because last time I checked, she's pretty decent at soccering. And then it's 1-1. England takes the lead again. And then I was mentioning the two late chances that Sam Kerr had, one off of the set piece late, where she was at the near post off of the rebound that popped up into the air. There were two chances Australia had to tie it at 2. Then, of course, you're chasing the match, and then a fantastic through ball for goal number 3 to make it 3-1. Now that you've had the sum total of about an hour to parse through everything that happened in this match, what happened in your mind?
Well, I thought the first half kind of went like both teams wanted the game to go. England dominated possession for the most part. They were creating chances. Obviously, they get the goal, but Australia outside of that goal did a decent enough job of kind of controlling what England was able to do in the attacking third. They were able to kind of hold off the attack and then create something on the counterattack. It wasn't super effective for Australia most of the time on the counter. They made some adjustments in halftime. Were a little bit more inclined to have the ball. Australia was, and you saw that in the second half. They created more chances through the run and play, and I think Kerr's goal was a little bit of a moment of individual magic, but that's okay to do that when you have one of the most brilliant players in the world on your team.
Who now, when you look at England and Spain, I know that we're kind of handicapping forward in kind of an instant reaction kind of a thing, but when you look at this matchup, Serena Wiegmann, last time I've heard, she's a decent coach.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of national teams probably will grab a Brinks truck, a wheelbarrow, and a Federal Reserve, or whatever the country equivalent is, if it's a team outside of the United States, to try and bring her into the country that is trying to recruit her. Obviously, there are ties here to the United States and things like that. And everybody's sitting there and pointing and going, when is her contract up? And no one really knows because we're kind of getting different dates. But, I mean, if Serena Wiegmann didn't have the entire planet chasing after her leading into this tournament to be a head coach someplace, I'm pretty sure that this planet and all the other planets of the solar system are chasing after Serena Wiegmann, because I am looking forward to her coaching the Neptunian national team at some point. But, I mean, she's proven it once again, dude.
She's, I think, I'm not sure if I'm ready to really make the statement yet, but I think it needs to be talked about if she does win on Sunday. Is she the greatest women's soccer coach of all time? And I know there are coaches who have claims to that. I mean, we could talk Jill Ellis here in the States, where winning back-to-back World Cup titles. I think if you ask anyone who's been a fan of this women's national team, they would pretty much say that 2015 and 19 were not exactly pretty soccer, but effective, and they won. There's Sylvia Knight, who won a lot as the German national team coach. But I don't know, Wiegmann making 2 finals in a row is pretty impressive. 2 different national teams. She's got, 2 Euro championships. Those are impressive numbers in this day and age of women's soccer, where you don't have 1 or 2 teams dominating the way that you had in the past, where it was just the U.S. and Germany. And she has taken at least 2 of those type of, I guess you could call them tier 2 or 3 teams, elevated their status, and now she's got, probably the greatest generation of English women's soccer players fully bought in and humming very well. I think that's the question you have to ask. Obviously, she will be very sought after. And we don't know when her, I've heard 2025, I've heard 2027, I've heard, I've heard several dates. I don't know. But we do know that she's under contract. So if you want to go hire her, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
And especially if you want to break a contract, definitely. Some guy named Bart Keeler on Twitter about an hour ago said that England deserved to be in the World Cup final, been the best team for the past 4 years, and their league and FA have, for the most part, given the players the support they need to succeed. And I think that that's key in this, where whether you're discussing things from the domestic league and the players that are involved there, the FA and the attention to detail that you have FAs giving, we're seeing it, and this will be my follow-up question having to do with FAs and things like that. But when it comes to the support, I think that that's key here, not just through the FA, but the domestic leagues as well. I think that that's key to a part of this discussion.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it also when we talk about Spain, because I think both of these teams have benefited from having clubs, legacy, top-level clubs that we're familiar with on the men's side, who decided, a decade ago to start actually investing in the development of women's soccer and their women's soccer development pipelines. And we're seeing that. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, we dominated the English game for forever because we were the only team at that point in time deciding to actually, pay players
yes,
to some extent, field a professional team. It felt like for many decades at Arsenal. But, you now have clubs like City and United, as well as Chelsea, who got in a little bit earlier as well, trying to create the most professional environment they can. Now, obviously, we caveat all this by saying there's still work to be done, right? I don't want people to take this as we've reached the mountaintop, because we have not. There's still a long hike to go. But England, specifically the big clubs, and more could do better, but specifically the big clubs have taken it upon themselves to improve their women's soccer infrastructure, and that has in turn given the FA, which has always been an okay supporter of the English women's team. I mean, outside of the obvious, soccer for almost half a century there. But since 2000, I think they've really seen the opportunity for the English women. And I think it's kind of geared between, as you mentioned, both the domestic league, those clubs actively trying to be good at women's soccer, and the FA not getting in the way. Let's just put it that way.
All right, so then let's go to the flip side in Spain, and I will give
that one's.
Yeah, I mean, I will give the roster 11 billion% credit for having to deal with all of the ish that has been going on with their federation and the coaches, and basically saying, "Nah, we're not showing up. We don't want to deal with any of this stuff. We don't want that kind of juju surrounding our team." Then putting that to the side, showing up, performing the way that they have, and you're hoping that the reforms that are being talked about on the national side, when you have coaches being charged with what they're charged with, I've got to give the players of Spain a boatload of credit for tuning all of the noise out and then making sure that they focus on the task at hand and get to this last game of the year. And this is what happens when.
Come on.
There you go. There's your cell change. There you go.
Yeah, hopefully it stays this way. We're on I-20,
yes.
That stretch of I-20 between Monroe and Augusta, where you're not quite sure what's going on.
Yes, it's called trees.
It's called trees, yeah. A bunch of trees and kudzu, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the Spanish Federation, when I said England's FA doesn't get in the way, the exact opposite is true for the Spanish FA. They are constantly putting this women's national team behind the 8 ball, putting obstacles in their way, giving them a head coach that seems to be incompetent at best and downright, problematic. We need to address the fact that we can give credit to this women's national team from Spain without giving credit to Jorge Vilda.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't deserve any because of the way he's created such a bad environment. And the team is succeeding in spite of him. And it seems like they're almost like coaching themselves. I don't know if you've seen during like water breaks or just in general before and after games, like they just do not talk to him or the coaching staff. But you do have in Spain the club Barcelona, which again, about a decade ago, decided we want to be really good at women's soccer. And they are the reason that this Spanish women's national team is at the level they're at, because they invested in their women's development. And finally, the FA said, okay, we'll give you a professional league, basically. Barcelona forced this.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make sure to color in that way, because they have done a lot of things right. Most of these players play for Barcelona. Some of the players who are still even, holding out are Barcelona players. So Barcelona has forced the Spanish Federation to acknowledge women's soccer, invest a little bit in women's soccer, but really the success of the Spanish national team is down to the individual players and their development through Barcelona.
Bernd is in this morning, and he says England also has a domestic league where the top teams, Arsenal, Man City, Man United, play with the ball, a concept completely foreign to the NWSL and U.S. colleges, and that shows in the national team naturally. Yeah,
I mean, NWSL is I call it our transition league. It's a fast break league. We look more like the NBA than we do soccer a lot of times. But that doesn't mean that it's not good. I think that, but at the same time, the problem we had was a coach who tried to not play that way, forced them into some boring style of soccer and play scared. He was scared to concede goals. We won the whole damn tournament. And he didn't realize that defensively we're still better than just about, I would say defensively we're still better than just about any team in the world. And you can look at the numbers to back that up. But he didn't give the players the freedom to really utilize their strengths as attackers. He also didn't give them a structured freedom, if that makes sense. You got to have some sort of structure and patterns and ideas and philosophies. And it seemed like he never communicated them well, because it just was a very boring, bland, and unimaginative style of play from the attacking side for the U.S. Again, you have a great defense. And you can say that great defense is a lot because, from top to bottom, we're kind of defending well. But that also is down to the fact that we have Naomi Girma and Julie Ertz back there. So let them be great center backs, and you need to let your attacking players be great attackers.
Looking at Bo Dure's piece from Soccer America, and he's going through everything with the U.S., you have, and this is part of his scripting, so bear with me here. He says it's all Vlatko Andonovski's fault, or it's injuries. Mallory Swanson, Kat Macario, Sauerbrunn, Mewis, Heath, Press, Davidson, all injured or not back in form. Neither is extreme nor completely wrong. He says everything is wrong. The U.S. doesn't produce players capable of matching European supremacy in tactics and technique. We're all focused on college soccer, which prizes athleticism more than anything else. We need 100 professional clubs with fully funded academies and promotion relegation somehow. He says all of that is neither completely right or neither completely wrong. He says 137 players in the NCAA or have experience in the World Cup. Canada, with 22, actually had more than the United States in dealing with the NCAA numbers. Some countries, like the Philippines, drew heavily on former college players who qualified to play for them through family ties. But some of the most impressive players in this cup in the last several years played for U.S. colleges within the last 12. Bronze, 1 year at North Carolina. Alessia Russo, 3 years at North Carolina. Bunny Shaw, JUCO, then Tennessee. Macario, 3 years at Stanford. Nigerian players like Ashley Plumptree at USC, Tony Payne at Duke, other U.S. and Canadian players, and he goes through this. But if one extreme is wrong, then the other isn't right. And Donofsky made some curious moves. To be more precise, he didn't make some moves that could have helped, particularly substitutions, but he also deployed Emily Sonnet to shore up the midfield against Sweden. And as the internet's cries pleaded for, got Lynn Williams on the field. Basic problem with the U.S. was passing, is what Bo is saying. They completed 71% of their passes, not at all close to Spain's 82.3 or England's 81.9 before Wednesday's semifinal. Only completed 80% of their short passes, worse than China, Argentina, Costa Rica, New Zealand. And the finishing was off. Only 29.8% of the USA shots were on target. 4 goals on 9.0 XG, by far the biggest gap between those numbers in the tournament. He talks about tired legs and injuries and other teams and all that kind of stuff. He goes into women's hockey, but that's Bo Dure, part of his work from Soccer America Confidential this morning.
Yeah, and there's a lot of truth to that. Like, so the first thing I would say is a lot of people criticize the U.S. college game when it comes to the U.S. women's national team. But I love that he points out, because they criticize it when it comes to the U.S. women's national team, yet they're always quick to praise it when a really good player from another team played in college. So we can't have it both ways. I think the college game, I know. The college game is beneficial in a lot of ways, but we need to find ways to get girls to professional soccer quicker. And I think I've been saying that for a while, is that the clubs now, the professional clubs, NWSL, women, the USLW League, the Super League that they're making, it is now on them to develop, invest in, create professional academies so that you are getting girls into professional environments earlier on. That doesn't mean that they're not going to go to college. Look at Atlanta United's academy. Plenty of Atlanta United Academy grads go to college. That is a good thing. They're going to get a great education and play soccer for 4 years. That's fantastic. And some of those players need another 3 to 4 years of college to get better. And that's very true on the women's side. But we need to have professional academies for sure to get girls playing at a professional level quicker in their careers. So that's absolutely, those criticisms are valid. Criticisms of Vlatko are very valid. But I also still look at, you mentioned the XG differential. We got very unlucky in a lot of ways this tournament. We didn't have shots go in that may have gone in. We didn't have, John, I don't recall anyway, goal opponent oopsie moment where we were able to capitalize.
Yeah.
A lot of teams got an own goal, they got a keeper error, they got a bad pass. We didn't have any of that. Now, part of that is, did we force those things to happen? Maybe not, but we didn't get any kind of luck like that at all this tournament.
Right.
And I think that is another thing where if you get lucky on any of the 8 saves that Musovic made against the U.S., one of them is just an inch left or right, or a lot of things. Are we winning the World Cup? No, I don't think we're going to win the World Cup. But a semifinal appearance would not have been out of the question. And I think that to me is what I kept taking, is we were just very unlucky. We got 0 good breaks in this tournament. And that includes, heading up to it with Sauerbrunn being out, with Swanson getting hurt, Macario not being able to get back healthy in time. Those hurt, literally, and, they hurt the team. But this team wasn't going to win the World Cup. I think a lot of people, for some reason, expected us to win a 3rd World Cup or make a 4th final in a row. And that's just that is an insane expectation, And I think that's the thing that we need to have the conversation about after this tournament is, has the world caught up? Yes. Several countries are now very good at soccer like us, right? We have to reevaluate our expectations of, we can't expect to win it every time. Nor should we just expect to be in the final. That said, we should expect to be very good and play better than what we did during this tournament, because I definitely think that our coaching let us down and we got unlucky.
Bart Keeler doing safe passengering to Milledgeville as he is escorting family to GMC because it's
we're now at the hay and open fields part of the drive.
Yes, the hay and open fields part. Yes, I-20. It's like at one point when
now we're off I-20. We're now on what is this 441, I suppose.
Because I was wondering if you got off at the Madison exit with all the truck stops and we're making that right-hand turn to go south.
Yes, we did.
This is all these years of covering high school football around the state doing features.
What's the high school down there?
Oh, it's GMC Prep.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bobby Rhodes, the head coach at GMC Prep.
That's correct. Yep.
And they had a rough year last year. Rhodes is a first-year head coach. I think he was the OC at Pepperell, and he's now the new head coach at GMC Prep this year. I caught up with him at one of the media days. So a couple of years ago, they had an undefeated regular season in a decent region, but a difficult year last year. New head coach in Bobby Rhodes. So GMC Prep is getting ready for their 2023 season. That was high school football down here. That's going to be on at like 4:45 in the morning on Thursdays. Bam has a question. By the way, Bart Keeler, as I said, at SoccerForUSPod, safe passengering this morning as we now have a final matchup in the FIFA Women's World Cup. Bam's question is, and this was a discussion that Bam and Rich Ransom and folks have been having in the Twitch pitch. Should MLS and NWSL join and have all MLS teams get an NWSL team by the year 2030?
Well, there are way too many different ownership groups for that to happen. So unless you're going to combine ownership groups, for example, Michelle Kang getting involved with DC United and DC United getting involved with Spirit, I don't think that's the problem or the question we need to be asking. Sorry.
You're driving, you're passengering, and you're trying to sort out things in traffic all at the same time. Are you lost?
No, we're not lost. I think we're on the right track. I don't know if that question is a valid. I'm not trying to dismiss it, but it's just I don't know if that's a worthy thought experiment when there are other issues within women's soccer in this country that.
And logistically, it would turn. To your point, you'd have to have affiliation agreements because not every NWSL owner would want to be bought out by a Major League Soccer owner, and you have, as you mentioned previously, what's going on with USLA and the Super League with the USL. So you could have affiliations and things like that and work your way forward to do these kinds of things. But there are other elements and there are other ways to do it. But I think what it also speaks to and what we've been having in this conversation is the value of the collegiate soccer universe toward the world game, where it's not just everybody's getting to hang and it's not just everybody going to North Carolina, learning from Anson Dorrance, and then getting a spot on the U.S. women's national team.
Right.
It's the Pac-4, it's the SEC, it's the ACC, all of these different places giving all of this talent, and then the talent realizing, I can do something with this career and go and play for my native country, like somebody like Casey Fair we got to see to have these kinds of moments. So I think it speaks to the collegiate system and now having more international options within that collegiate system. Soleil Washington is a rising senior at Chamblee High School, allegedly going to Duke. We're going to be catching up with her later this week. But, right now she's heading to Duke.
Yep.
And she's getting minutes as the Reggae Girls. And
that's, I think, again, John, you can't say, the college game is a problem when other country, basically every other country uses the U.S. collegiate system in some way, shape, or form to continue to develop their players. So I think, again, can we have multiple pathways? Because for the longest time, we only had one.
Yeah.
And it was the college game. We need to develop more ways. And so I think NWSL needs to do better because they only, they have the one-time under 18 player rule. Well, that doesn't incentivize teams to actually build an academy to use players in their full team, So there are some rules that NWSL needs to work on to make it easier to get younger players involved professionally. But I again still think the college game, as you just pointed out, is beneficial to not just the U.S. but every international team.
You realize that what's your Monday like? Since I asked Lucas for that first question about Leagues Cup, what's your Monday like?
Oh, I don't have anything Monday right now, so I'll be available.
Okay, so as we, just as you have the weekend to think about it, get your senior superlatives together.
Okay.
We've got the World Cup yearbook that's going to be coming out on Monday. So senior superlatives, all stars, you're all World Cup 11, and all those kinds of things. So get that ready for Monday on a Monday appearance.
All right.
When it comes to, and by the way, I still have to get my stuff from you. Don't I?
I know it. We need to plan a meetup, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to your experience that you had there, obviously it's an experience of a lifetime. This is what I'll wrap up with this week. When it comes to the experience of a lifetime with what you got to see down there, what was it like for you to do that? I mean, because you were multitasking, you were doing a couple of different things, you were doing down under down here's for us here. I mean, has it sunk in that you were able to accomplish what you did from both a repertorial standpoint and from a fan standpoint of this trip? Has it kind of sunk in other than staring at your bank account?
Well, that part has definitely sunk in. But, I think while I was there, even I was able to just appreciate how big the tournament felt and how much more important it felt from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
How much more supported it was. People in Sydney understood that that the Women's World Cup was here. I mean, even people who weren't like huge soccer fans, like, oh yeah, like I knew that was happening, which is so different than what it was in France in 2019. So I'm just hoping that FIFA learns its lesson from this World Cup, that if you make it feel like a big event, it will be a big event. We've seen it from the attendance numbers. It's the most attended World Cup in history. We've seen it from the broadcast numbers. Tons of viewership, not just in the U.S., but everywhere. I'm sure that England will draw massive numbers on TV on Sunday, whatever time that is for them. I forget. I think it's like, noonish?
Yeah,
probably kickoff for them, noon or 1 o'clock, which is perfect on a Sunday for them. That to me, John, has been the best thing that I've taken from it, is because I just passed the Peaches sign here, by the way. If y'all know what I'm talking about. That's been the best thing for me, John. It's just to see that women's soccer has grown so much, because that's how I fell in love with the sport, is the 99ers, watching the Atlanta Beat as a kid.
Yep.
So like for me to see women's soccer getting the attention and the praise it deserves is great. And it was so cool to see that while I was there. And two fantastic host countries. I thought these were great women's World Cup host countries, and they deserve a lot of credit.
And any chance I get to drop a Carrie Gregg or a Nancy or Julie Augustiniak reference, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, the Nancy, the twins who just played outside back. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk all the time about those Atlanta Beat teams, John, because I don't think people understand the collection of talent we had on that team. Soon-Win, Hamadi Sawa, Brianna Scurry, Cindy Parlow-Cohn, Charmaine Hooper. You mentioned the Augustiniak twins. Like, there's just so many legends of the game, honestly, on that Atlanta Beat team. And the only team in the WSA to make all three playoffs all 3 years. Made two finals. Not the one we hosted, though.
Nope, not the one you hosted, but there was I went to the one in Foxborough and was on the sidelines for that, and then caught all the news about what was going on at Torero in the championship out there. So safe travels, and may the move be as moving can be, and make sure that everything survives the trip from.
Luckily, it's not terribly hot today.
The car to now is the location, is it on a ground floor or is it?
Oh no, he's on the third floor.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot.
The third floor.
Pivot.
We'll see. Luckily, they come furnished, so we don't have to worry about
okay. All right.
too many of those things.
That's Bart Keeler, Soccer for USPOD. We're going to do a hot tag. Bart, safe travels. We'll catch up with you soon.
Bye, y'all.
All right, that's Bart. And so that means since it is 10 o'clock, there's Dylan.
What's up?
So how was the first day of school last week?
The first?
I thought you were getting like school prep, right?
Yeah, it's she's in camp, but a lot of different factors thrown in there as well. So
hey, but it's all good. So what is the boss doing at camp during the daytime?
Depends on the day. Today, ironically, since we're speaking about the sport, she's got soccer today.
Okay.
She has. It's actually really funny. We were playing in the backyard on Sunday, and I have the two nets set up, and this is the mind of a 4.5-year-old, but I think it's brilliant. I was defending and she was attacking, but she kept going wide. And my thought was she's trying to draw the defender out wide to then take the defender on and go to the net with an empty net.
Okay. I
wasn't budging.
No, that's the thing.
I was like, I'll give you the space out wide, not a problem.
So did she score on you?
She did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So was it?
She did the whole. Oh, look, there's a spider over there, and then I looked, and then she scored.
Okay. I didn't know how acute the angle was, and if it was a golazo from.
No, she does. I don't set up the goals, I guess, in the correct way because she was kind of doing the hockey wraparound a little bit, where she was working like Gretzky behind the net and then wrapping around.
Yeah, that's you got to back up that net up against the wall and turn it into you got to turn it into like a New York Arrows game. It's got to be up against the wall. See if you can get her to learn like futsal or indoor soccer. I think that would be pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Since it's been a couple of weeks, when it came to Leagues Cup, and I guess we'll start the conversation here. How pro Leagues Cup were you at the beginning of the competition? Because I know a lot of folks were, you had some folks that were divided. They're like, Leagues Cup, oh, I know why they're doing it. It's just, I got it. It was a TV program. And I looked at it as an episodic television program that had, a bunch of different characters and a bunch of different plot lines. I understood what it was. But you had a lot of folks who were mad that their Major League Soccer season had this month-long television event that was dropped into the middle of that schedule before we get to the 10-game sprint. How were you in receiving Leagues Cup going in? Were you kind of like, I wish we would just still do MLS. I get it. But where were you on this fence?
No, I liked it. I love the idea in the beginning because I'm all for the Liga MX and MLS budding rivalry, right? And having meaningful games. And, you in the past, you had like, what was it? Superliga, right? Like what was the real benefit of winning Superliga, right? Like a big shiny trophy. I mean, at least now you've got CONCACAF Cup. Can't call it Champions League. CONCACAF Champions Cup berths, in addition to the shiny trophy and a whole boatload of cash. So, all for it. Look, like anything else, I think there should be tweaks to it. I don't love the fact that it's all not just the United States, I guess, because it was in Vancouver as well, right? But not just. There should be games played in Mexico, right? To level out that playing field. And I was, you're going to obviously there's a discrepancy in how many teams are in each league, right? Clearly,
yeah. For
a combination of 47. So, like the MLS versus MLS matches in this just were kind of like vanilla to me. It was all about when a Liga MX team was playing an MLS team. That's where your ears perked up. Also, I had zero interest in two Mexican teams against each other. So, and I think that showed in some of the some of the stadiums as well. So
yeah, Q2, no doubt about it. For the, I want to
Yeah.
say it was the Mazatlan Juarez match at Q2. You might have had friends and family there, and that for me is a disappointing aspect of all of this.
But I think level out the playing field, you know, similar to Champions Leagues in the past, right? Like, you know, play some of these games in Mexico. If it's a collaborative between the leagues, make it a full collaborative, and have these games there as well.
No, because I mean, could you imagine, say, Lionel Messi at the Azteca, something like that, where you might have a couple thousand folks show up for that one. How much of it have you watched? Have you been hardcore? Have you, just kind of drifted in and out? I mean, outside of work parameters, like if you got nothing going on and Leagues Cup is there, are you going to go drift over and watch Leagues Cup? Have you been doing that kind of thing, or what is your outside work viewing habits been of Leagues Cup?
Yeah, we were actually. I think the only thing that has stopped me from watching it is we did a little hijack watching on Apple TV. That show I recommend it highly.
Oh, the Idris Elba.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very good, very good.
Okay.
So watch that, but yeah, no, I watched again. If it was an enticing Liga MX MLS matchup, yeah, I was tuning in for sure. Certainly, with the stakes as they were yesterday, watched those matches. I think they was high entertainment, certainly. I think it sets up for a fun final as well. And you know what too, because you've got that Champions Cup berth at place too, the third place match. Like you usually just throw away third place matches, right? Like World Cup, whatever. Like who cares who's in third? No one's gonna remember. But like this has value to it, right? Like you've got to go out and win this game. And I think Philly Monterrey, that's a fun one, man. Like that should be a nice little Philly appetizer for the main course in some in Nashville, right? Little hot chicken action.
Yeah, no, we had Lucas Panzica, half of the play-by-play team for 104.5 in Nashville. He batted leadoff. He was our Ricky Henderson this morning, and we got to catch up with him about that match. But let's work through it chronologically.
Yeah.
And the match in Chester involving Philly and Intermessi CF.
By the way, props to Philly, props to the Union for not. And we spoke about this before, right? About different situations. Having the match in Chester, right? Like not going to the link,
yes.
Not getting 65,000 and getting the payday. We're playing it under the Commodore Barry Bridge, baby, with 19,000 folks booing Messi, and love it. It was pure Philly.
Well,
Chester.
No, and when Jim Curtin came out and stylistically in his formation was not his standard self, and then you had that moment 3 minutes in, I think a lot of us were sitting there going, maybe you should have just come in with the girl that to the dance. Because I mean that tilted in a hurry, and it was not pretty from a Philly perspective.
No, it wasn't, and it's funny, right? You I was on the Curtin press conference, the match day -1 press conference, and he talked about. He said, among other things, he said, if we let Messi get the ball at his feet, we failed, right? We're in trouble, and yet what was happening, right? Like he was getting the ball to his feet. That's how he scored. That's how he scored that second goal. Just getting the ball at feet, turning and running at guys after Joseph got crushed, right? So. And then the Busquets thing too is interesting, right? Like, so he was crediting Busquets and how so many of the goals were a byproduct of what Busquets can deliver in terms not only of his direct service, but the pass before the pass, the hockey assist.
Yes.
But still, Miami just tore him apart, right? Like once that third goal, like you still thought maybe at 2-0. You get the first one maybe in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and now it's a fight. But once that third one in, it was lights out, right? So I think huge credit to Miami, because the haters would say, well, they've won all these games at home, and then they got so lucky in Dallas, and they had to get PKs. All right, but now you go to a place that's been a true fortress in Subaru Park, and you blow the doors off one of the better teams in MLS, right? So I think a huge credit goes to Tata and obviously Messi and Busquets and the suddenly world-class Robert Taylor as well. So it's no one is leaving. No one who watched that match is leaving saying, man, they were so lucky again. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, no, this is well deserved.
Yeah, no, and Rich Ransom, our resident Philadelphia fan, is in with us this morning in the Twitch pitch, and he goes,
he got the pitchforks out, doesn't he? For
yeah.
I know he did earlier.
Yeah, then proceed to give Messi the ball. It's the biggest thing for a lot of folks was staring at I think it was 3 center backs to start.
Yes,
and a lot of us were going, bruh, okay, and that takes a while in a game state to get adjusted to. And if the team that you're playing can find that early gap, can find that early advantage, and they did it 3 minutes in, then you're having to fight, trying to figure out, okay, now we're chasing 3 minutes into a tactical error that Curtin admitted to when he was talking with Katie Witham at the half. But when you look at Inter Miami,
well, just for a second, go back, John. Yeah. I think it's also, as you were saying, right? I think when you line up in a different way than you usually do, that's got to have an effect mentally on your guys, right? Like, wait, boss, we can't go out and ball out like we always do. Like, we've got to change for the opposition.
Right.
Listen, it's one thing for Curtin to admit in the press conference, match day -1. Listen, yes, Miami is absolutely going to have more of the ball. He's said that multiple times. It's just not the way that Philly plays. But to go away from, like you said, right, like the girl who brought you there, I think sets a bad precedent before the kickoff.
Yeah.
You're already worried about Messi and Busquets and Alba, like all these big names, right?
It's like boss doesn't trust us to do our job.
Right. Like you'd rather him go, listen, here's how we play. Let them play us, instead of let's worry about how they're playing.
And you got to see this. I think the stat that was mentioned by Jake Zivin on the air in their first, their first 22 MLS matches or first 21 MLS matches, they've got 21 or 22 goals. It's like one of the and then in Leagues Cup, they've basically exploded. But when you have Messi and Busquets and Jordi Alba and they resurrected Robert Taylor and a drafting Joseph Martinez as a part of all of this, when you've got these guys that can do this kind of stuff, not necessarily a surprise. I mean, at times you see how effortless it is, and the copy that was out of South Florida where Messi's having fun. And you're making 40 or 50 million instead of 11 billion by playing in Saudi Arabia in the Saudi Pro, but you can see that it's fun and it's a different environment and a different vibe for him out there. And to see all of this creation and the goal that he scored against Andre Blake, I mean, you're sitting there and it's like, okay, he's 33 out, and he's got that little window.
Yeah.
And Andre Blake, you can kind of see what's going through Andre Blake's mind. Okay. All right, there's Messi. I'm locked in. Yeah, I got my 2 defenders there. He's not going to shoot it, is he? Oh, he is going to shoot it. Oh, that's a hell of a shot, and it goes right past him. I mean,
and especially too with the play ranging towards the left. So now Blake's going to take a couple steps the other way, and then Messi, just like you said, small window, perfect,
crazy.
I can't. Listen, I'm among. I didn't know if this was like he's the greatest player, right? But he's still one guy.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if he is now. I think I don't know if Busquets was getting enough credit before. That's huge for them to have that combination, certainly. But yeah, I didn't listen. Now you're starting to think if they can get into the playoffs and what, they're 12 points out with 12 games left.
Right.
12 games. This is kind of a sprint down the stretch now, right? Like, so he's still gonna have. They're still gonna have a lot in the tank.
Well, but you've got schedule compression,
for
and
sure.
you've also got World Cup qualifying in about a month, I think, where you've got 2 games, and for Argentina specifically, where Atlanta loses Almada and Miami loses Messi. One of those matches is in La Paz. And
do they lose him? Is he still playing?
No, I think they're both still a part of the qualification.
No, I just mean, like, I thought I hadn't heard anything. I thought when the World Cup happened, he's like, I'm out. Or unless that was just his last World Cup. Is he? I think
it's his last World Cup. I still think he's part of national team play.
Okay.
And so if he's active in that, then Atlanta loses Almada for a couple of days. Messi goes, and one of those is in La Paz. You've got schedule compression on a bunch of different levels, including Open Cup. So let me posit this. Since we're workshopping the future of Interim SC CF here in the schedule, you're 2 wins away from winning Open Cup. You are 1 match away from winning Leagues Cup.
By the way, you know who's freaking out about this whole thing that you're workshopping?
Don Garber.
Red Bull fans.
Oh.
Because if you look at they're playing Miami, I think it's the 23rd. And that Open Cup semifinals, what, the 26th? Right? I think, or do I have the vice versa?
27. Yeah. I think
so it's the 23rd, 20.
I think the 27th of September, I think, is the Open Cup final.
I think, yeah, and then the Saturday prior is Red Bull Arena. So they're like, wait a minute, is he playing in this match? What's going to happen?
Yeah,
like, they're already a worrisome bunch, but they're concerned about that a little bit.
Well, and so then as we workshop the schedule and the success rate for Interim SC CF, you're a win away from Leagues Cup, which puts you into the Sweet 16 in CONCACAF Champions League Hemispheric Extravaganza tournament. Then you're 2 wins away from Open Cup, and the first one there is in Cincinnati, and then you figure out the left-hand side of the bracket, which I think is Houston and Sporting. If, and I will posit this as a question, if you already have 2 crowns in a year by September 27, and you're already in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza tournament, and you're already in the Sweet 16 if you have won Leagues Cup, should you really throw all of your eggs in at that point, having already won 2 tournaments, and Jorge _Mas on the X is like, okay, I'm in the Sweet 16 for the Hemispheric Extravaganza. How much should I invest in chasing after a playoff berth if after September 27 you still have margins and it's not looking likely? Do you kind of pull things back a little bit?
I mean, it depends on, that's...
Do you downshift?
That's, 6 weeks away. It depends on what it looks like then.
Yeah.
Are you 3 points below at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Are you 10 points below? Like, it's going to all depend. Are you above the line? Like, where are they at that point? I think is going to depend on how you chase it. But I think if they're close, they're going to chase it. And how crazy could this be, considering where Miami were pre-Messi?
Then you get in as the 9.
No, I was going to say you could potentially have a treble-winning season.
Yeah.
Right? Leagues Cup, Open Cup, MLS Cup.
Yeah. And that would be absolutely insane with and you've got to give all the credit in the world to David Beckham and Chris Henderson for doing the John Thorrington master's class of salary massage and all of that.
2 years really for Henderson, right? Like to turn over the roster that he did with the constraints that there are already dealing with this previous sanctions, an incredible work of art. Like that's, if you want to be a sporting director / GM in this league, like you take that class, you take the Chris Henderson class and try to figure out how he somehow managed this.
Blow out almost 24 folks in year one, and then coordinate with David Beckham to bring in and Jorge _Mas, bring in Lionel Messi, and oh, by the way, you can bring in Jordi Alba, and oh, by the way, you can fit in Sergi Busquets, and oh, by the way, you're probably bringing in Luis Suarez in January, and you've got to figure out your DP situation with Gregory, who you're probably going to buy down to an AM, and Leo Campagna, who might be looking for work someplace else. But yeah, to have all of these dudes, to have Messi and friends, to get to where you are, this close to a title, 5 weeks away from another title, and then probably 2 months away from possibly a third, is insane to think about right now.
Yeah, MLS. I don't know. Is that the answer? Just this is MLS, baby.
Yes, that is the answer. So let's go to the other half of the bracket in the nightcap. And I think that you mentioned there were some things that need to be worked on in Leagues Cup, the locations, home matches, those kinds of things, because Monterrey basically traveled for like 18 straight days before last night's match at Geodas.
And should they have won that match, they would have hosted Miami in the final.
Yeah, and that's like hosted.
Yes, in dry pink.
Yeah, and so that would have been fairly one-sided. You look at VAR and its implementation, and that's something that we got to look at here, because the moments from the last couple of high-profile matches here in Leagues Cup, you're kind of sitting there going, we kind of need to have folks look at this. I mean, in that match, you had the Mukhtar goal pulled off the board, and Hani Mukhtar went on the gram or the IG or whatever the kids call it these days. And he was like, it was I'm paraphrasing. He said it was one of the worst calls that he'd ever seen. Someone please explain this to me. And then you had the Lucas McNaughton tackle in the box, where you're thinking, okay, if they didn't give the Mukhtar one where Alex Muil is coming in, and I can kind of understand it, but if you don't, I get that too, because it's, obstruction, and is he in the line of sight? Is the keeper already jumping? All those kinds of things. The McNaughton tackle, you're thinking, okay, if the first one didn't happen, this one has to. And you look at it, and it's that the camera angle is right there in front of you. McNaughton is chasing after the ball, and the legs get the leg gets part of the tackle, player goes down. You're thinking, man, that's got to be a penalty, and it's not. I think that you've got the implementation and the personnel attached to VAR. You got to look at that too for the next round of this tournament.
100% agree, and like you see Mukhtar's goal, and there's nothing to me that says that Alex Muil is obstructing there, right? Like, unless, I don't know.
I mean, he's jumping into frame. I mean, and like I said, this is us going Zapruder and analyzing this.
Like, did he have a lot of garlic bread and like breathed on the goal? Like, is that how he affected the?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if Alex Muil, his head is turned to the right and he's exhaling, and the keeper who is jumping, and it's like, and the thing that I think you've got to look at is the jumping of the keeper already to the left at the moment that Alex Muil is coming into his periphery. And like I said, we are Zaprudering the daylights out of this moment, but they look at it and they wave a goal off the board, because I guess that's what you're looking at in theory. You're assuming that Muil, like I said, you've got to frame by frame analyze this, but it's like you're assuming that Muil is getting into the keeper's periphery and is obstructing, in air quotes, that particular movement. So that's, I guess, what they're looking at in that moment to wave that one off.
So you see that one come off the board.
Yeah.
And then like 5 minutes later, or actually all part of that same sequence, I think you see Schaffelberg come out injured, right? And he's been great for them in this tournament. So you're like, oh my goodness, double whammy, right? For Nashville.
Yep.
Monterrey is going to find the way. and then they don't, right? You had all three of your DPs involved on what would be the winning goal, right? Zimmerman winning the header, Mukhtar making the run, your boy Sam Surridge scoring the goal. Fantastic stuff there for Nashville, and then Fafa puts the icing on the cake at the end. When Monterrey is pushing numbers forward, trying to get the equalizer. So similar to what I said about Miami's win at Philly. Really, that should have been a 3-0, right? At least, and then there's no question about Nashville on that one. And you would, yes, they were home, but and I was again part of the Gary Smith match day -1 press conference. They were the underdog in this one, right? Like they've got a great home record, but this is the best team. Everyone was saying Monterrey in this region. So a terrific and incredible result in what was leading into it the biggest game in the club's history.
And now they're having the biggest game in club history again on the weekend. Let me grab.
Isn't that great, by the way? Like it's the biggest soccer specific stadium, right? Yeah. I'm really intrigued about the breakdown of the crowd of that one.
We know what it was like in last night. Like I said, we had Lucas on. He said there was about 28,000. And the mix was about, it was a lot of Nashville fans, but the noise mix was about 50-50.
It was pretty loud.
Yeah, so 28,000 there last night at Geodis to lay things out for this one. So Leagues Cup, we've got Inter Messi at a -103. Your 90-minute draw, and it's changing as we're talking about it. So basically in range at a -103 in the composite. 90-minute draws a +270 on both matchups, Philadelphia, Monterrey, and Nashville and Inter Messi. Nashville at home to win outright is a +239. That's what you're staring at in that one. Union are favored, by the way, at home at a +110. Monterrey is a +206 to win outright in 90 minutes.
And like I said, I would think, too, if this is just a general third-place match just for ish and giggles, I would say nobody's going to care, right? You'll see a whole lot of triple digits out there for Monterrey. Yeah. But again, you want to get into this competition because you want to then get into the Club World Cup. So I think they'll take it seriously as well.
Looking forward to that. What else is going on with you these days with the written word, whether it's at MLS Soccer? Because, hey, we got games this weekend. We're getting back into games, man.
Yeah, we have Hell is Real. We have the Canadian Classique, and we've got the big derby between NYCFC and Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe not that last one, but
just a couple of things. What was the name that they gave the MLS Next Pro version of Hell is Real? Heck is oh
I didn't hear it.
They came up with a name for it. MLS Next Pro. It was like Heck is Possible or something like Heck is Plausible.
Okay.
Heck is Plausible is what they're referring to Crew 2 and FC Cincinnati 2. So you have Hell is Real and Heck is Plausible. We had Heck is Plausible last weekend, I think, in MLS Next Pro.
You had the super old school that not many people care about except for the really hardcore fans. Atlantic Cup with Red Bull and DC. As well. And then I think some interesting ones there as well. I think LA RSL, Seattle, Atlanta, and the sort of, which one of these teams is real.
Yes.
Matchup. Before I bounce, I got to ask, you're in the heart of it there. Which success in Miami is not as well received in Atlanta? Is it Joseph's right now, or is it Tata's?
I think Joseph is still split. I think Tata is more universally, accepted, beloved. I think the percentage is lower, although you still have folks that sit
But
there.
had he gone from Atlanta to Miami, it would have been different. But he went Mexican national team.
Yeah, he went home, Mexican national team, entered Miami. And so you still have folks on both sides when it comes to Messi, but the percentage of acceptance of success is higher for Tata than it is for Joseph, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like fans were like okay with Joseph when he was struggling early.
Well, because the Joseph of recency is not the same Joseph that was setting the league on fire. And I think that when you have the anticipation or expectation that he's in Miami, he's been traded away or he's been moved, I guess is the proper term, since he's all property of Major League Soccer, since he was shifted to a club inside the Eastern Conference. I mean, you want to do the player a solid. He was not the same player that he was after 2 knee surgeries. And so it made sense. And right now he is in an offense where he's not really doing a whole lot of running back on defense. I mean, they're defending with 8 or 7.
Yes.
Seriously, they're defending with 7 guys. And, but you're going to let Messi do what Messi wants. And, if Busquets is kind of hanging up a little north, then he's going to do the same thing too. But, Joseph really isn't helping out defensively. It's like, seriously, if you look at that 50-50 shot of the attacking half, or maybe even the attacking or the defensive third, Joseph is nowhere to be found. But then all of a sudden, when they come back in transition, it's like, oh, ding, light switch comes on, and it's like, and then he and Messi and everybody else are running the other way. And so there have been times where Messi has been upset with Joseph in certain situations. And I mean, that's the last thing you want is to be yelled at by Lionel Messi. And you saw Tata substitute Campagna as a part of this. So, when Suarez comes in, allegedly, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps in January. So, I mean, but I think your percentage of acceptance of success is higher attached to Tata.
Okay. Got it.
So, OSDB Sports, what's going on there? Anything?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
I think actually it's weird, right? Like I did the Eastern Conference grades because of the Leagues Cup break, and then I had to do like a post-mortem on the women's national team. So the Western Conference grades got pushed back. So I believe, I read it, it's written. So I believe that should be this Monday. Unless somehow there's like a Women's World Cup, Leagues Cup, I'm not sure. But That's what I think it should be.
Yes. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on all of that stuff. As always, at Dylan_Butler. Dylan, my friend, thanks for hanging out with us and balancing all of the duties. Oh, what's the mug this morning?
Dad.
There we go. Okay. See? Yes, because he is doing all of these duties simultaneously.
By the way, I was at that, sorry for going on a little stoppage time here.
Yeah.
Was at that big Hip Hop 50 show at Yankee Stadium last Friday.
Yes.
Great stuff, man. Lil Wayne was incredible. T.I. was there. And then it ended. See, like it was funny because I felt so bad for Run DMC. Like they're like the big headline, right? Like they're the guys. But it was just getting later and later, right? Like Nas was there and Lauryn Hill came out and that was amazing. But like I'm sitting there next to my cousin. I'm like, dude, it's like 1:00 in the morning. Like Run DMC came out maybe like 1:20. And they ended at 2 a.m. We're going down the stairwells at Yankee Stadium to leave, and everyone's bleary-eyed. And then some guy behind me is like, "Let's go Yankees, let's go yeah." The guy next to me is like, "Dude, it is 2 a.m. Let's stop with the Let's Go Yankees. We're not doing that right now."
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I give Red Bulls a lot of credit because the alternate jersey that they came up with to celebrate 50 years of hip hop, that is strong.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
good
love
stuff. The best
love.
thing they've done all year.
Yes, then if I ever have any spare change, I may actually buy that thing. I actually like it. But as always, Dylan, my friend, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for multitasking and be a part of our Wednesdays. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, buddy.
Dylan Butler, he's a man who is on fire. He has like 9 different things going on all at the same time, and he is perfecting all of them. He's doing so well. He's got all of it going on all at once. We've gotten the last half hour. We got news and stuff, official term, and we'll go over all the news of the morning. The teams that have currently qualified for Champions Cup, the Hemispheric Extravaganza: Pachuca, Toluca, Club America, Monterrey, Chivas, Tigres, Inter Miami, Nashville, Vancouver Whitecaps. They won the 2023 Canadian champs, so they won Can champs. So those are the teams so far that are in. We have 9. We've got 9 teams that are in the 6, 7, 13, 22, 27. Of the 27, so we're a third of the way through the field when it comes to the Hemispheric Championships. And we will go through all of the news that we have about anything and everything this morning. Jared's dealing with real world stuff, and so that's why Jared hasn't been able to join us this morning. Arsenal's Jurrien Timber could be ruled out for the season after suffering an ACL injury after he hobbled off against Nottingham Forest, first game of the year. Statement from Arsenal, quote, Jurrien will undergo surgery in the coming days, out of action for a period of time. The support and expertise from our medical team and everyone at the club will now be focused on Jurrien's rehabilitation program to ensure he recovers well and is back playing as soon as possible. Might not be, if you're looking at 7 to 9 months, may not feature before the season ends in May of 24. Timber has posted his thoughts to his social media. And either Philly or Monterrey will be in on Sunday. Well, in Monterrey's in. So Monterrey is already in because of, I think, their finish in league. So I think they're according to our friends at CONCACAF, Monterrey is already in. So we will have that to discuss as well. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what's to watch, where are we going, who's doing what, those kinds of things. Let's go to the gossip part and roll through all of it. Allison has no plans to leave Liverpool. Happy being manager Jurgen Klopp's number 1 keeper. Al Nassr said to be keen on signing him and that Allison was tempted, according to our friends at Foot Mercato. Mo Salah has reportedly given the green light, in quotation marks. This is from Al-Qas via Football 365, for a Saudi Pro League side to negotiate over a possible transfer this summer. Fulham have received an offer of almost £47 million, and all of these will be in pounds unless otherwise notified. From Al Hilal for Alexander Mitrovic. He wants to go. And that's from our friends at Talk Sport. Fulham had valued Mitrovic at basically 50 to 55. We'll see if Al Hilal can get Mitrovic and bring him in. Liverpool considering as many as 6 defensive midfield targets, including Fulham's Joao Palhinha and Cheikh Doucouré from Crystal Palace. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. West Ham's deal to sign Harry Maguire collapsed because they were tired of waiting for him to agree to an exit. And so now he gets to fight for his spot in Manchester United, which is what Erik ten Hag would like for him to do. Fight for your place. You don't have the captaincy, fight for your spot. So we'll see how much he fights. Collapse of the deal reduced the chances of Manchester United being able to follow through on a deal with Bayern to get Benjamin Pavard. Bayern are also interested in signing Manchester City's Stefan Ortega. We talked about that one yesterday. It also looks like at Manchester City that Aymeric Laporte will be heading to the Saudi Pro League as well. Manchester United could be on the brink of making an official offer for Fiorentina's Sofiane Amrabat. Everton have not received an offer from Manchester United for Amadou Onana, and only a large transfer fee will prize him from Goodison Park. That's the words of the BBC. That's their verb, prize, with an S. Manchester City is set to submit a fresh bid to West Ham for Lucas Paquetá in the next 24 hours. They have failed in a bid to sign Spanish forward Lamine Yamal from Barcelona with the intention of then placing the 16-year-old with sister club Girona. And hey, look at this. Good morning.
Hello, John.
Wow. Have you appropriately taken the sword to the real world and fought them back past the other side of the bridge on the moat?
No, God, no, never. Both in work and in soccer, I am in hell right now.
Yes, and that's why
Jared.
Jared.
It's been a week.
Yes, it's been a week, and it's only Wednesday. That's why Jarrett, who traditionally will join us for hour number one, basically it's parachute status for Jarrett when it comes to anything and everything. Let me run through the gossip real quick, and then we can get your thoughts on stuff. Al Nassr pushing hard to sign Barcelona's Clement Lenglet, who spent last season on loan with Spurs. Barca need to get Lenglet and Serginho Dest off their wage bill in order to register their priority target, Joao Cancelo, if they can agree a deal with Manchester City for the Portuguese fullback. Crystal Palace believe Chelsea have crossed the line in their conduct during their attempts to sign Michael Olise. No, they're not going to do any kind of official charging about tapping up or anything like that, or tampering, however you want to phrase it, depending on which side of the pond that we are discussing things. But Crystal Palace is kind of pissed at Chelsea for chasing after Michael Olise. Lazio opened discussions with Hugo Lloris about a possible move to Serie A. That's from Gianluca Di Marzio. Brighton are interested in Boca Juniors left back Valentin Barco, with the 19-year-old said to have a release clause of about £8 million. Jump on Valentin Barco like yesterday, people.
He's like, yeah, man, it feels, I know it's not like the most edgy thing to say, you should jump on that player who's been really good for one of the Argentine Giants. But if you're not already on it, you should probably jump on this edition of the Barco.
Yes, you should. So do that, and do that yesterday if you're Brighton and Roberto De Zerbi. Tim Krul set to have a medical with Luton Town after an agreement was struck with Norwich. Manchester City scheduled to receive 20% of the profit Southampton make on the sale of Romeo Lavia to Chelsea, which would be about $10 million. And Sevilla have made Leicester's Boubakary Samari their latest transfer target. And it looks like Kevin De Bruyne might be out for 4 months with his hamstring injury, which is kind of escalating and elevating their chase for Lucas Paquetá. So that's where we are with that. Since we haven't had the chance to catch up with you in a while, what's been on your mind in a general sense as we work towards specificity?
Oh no, I'm in hell. Like, you have two Southern teams in the Leagues Cup final, one of which was completely remade by getting the greatest player that we know of, and I'm gonna make this quick because I don't feel like being mean to Rich, because Rich is good people.
Yes, but Rich is angry enough this morning.
Philly just spit the bit last night. Like, go back and look at that first goal. It had 2018 Eastern Conference final vibes to it, like where you're giving a deep lying playmaker enough time to pick out a ball to a striker. Like, it just felt like Philly came out with a different game plan from what they knew. And they tried to change some things up tactically that didn't work and didn't really play their game. And before you knew it, they were behind the 8 ball. The stupid part is that in the second half, when they really got back to just, we're going to press you and we're going to make you miserable. I mean, like they forced 2 or 3 outstanding saves, and they also missed.
Calendar, man.
Yeah, and they also missed. You know, you had the open net miss. Philly could have still, but like we were talking about it last night, that Philadelphia this year has been like, last year Philadelphia had games like that. Mm-hmm. Hell, they did that in the playoffs, in the Eastern Conference final or semifinal, where they would be playing poorly in the game, and then they would flip the switch, and all of a sudden, boom, they were there. They were rattling off 2 goals in 10 minutes kind of thing. But they haven't flipped that switch as much this year. It's like they get behind the 8 ball, but they haven't had these career year guys like Ure. Carranza's been banged up. You're not getting those career years from guys to pull you out of that muck. That's been a thing all year. But I was disappointed because I wanted to see what Miami would deal with a team that wanted to fight them. And the biggest fight you got was the end of the game with Jose Martinez when the game's done, dusted at that point. It's disappointing. This whole thing was fascinating to me, though, because these are what cup competitions are great. The teams that were left in this cup competition for the last few rounds weren't lighting the world on fire. Nashville had not been good before Leagues Cup. Remember,
Nope.
Nashville kept getting red cards and losing matches and losing their heads.
Yep.
They had not been good.
Nope.
And they got in Leagues Cup, survived and suffered. Man, they suffered some games to get through shootouts. And they lost a shootout and then won the same shootout in a weird Leagues Cup fashion.
Yeah.
But Nashville suffered and weathered it. And here they are. Miami was not good. Miami's still, I think, 12 points back of the playoff spot.
Yep.
It's doable. It's the same argument I will always have. I'm not going to sit here and say they can't do it, but I am going to say that you're climbing bodies, not just points.
Right.
It's going to be annoying because you don't want to drop a point here or there, drop 3 points here or there, and then have to say, well, damn, now we need so-and-so. We're watching results.
Yep.
You try and just take care of business. Can they rattle off 12 straight wins? Probably.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
But I got into this discussion with Dylan. You've got schedule compression. You've got international duty. You've got national team duty.
We've gone over it. The schedule compression is mean, too. It's not. The schedule makers did not necessarily do Miami any favors.
Of course, the schedule makers did not know that Lionel Messi, Sergi Busquets, and Jordi Alba were going to be a part of this roster.
No, but I think every team in the league this year has a stretch or two. We know Atlanta did recently. Every team in the league has a stretch or two where you get schedule compression and you just want to throw hands with the schedule makers. Because part of it's because the U.S. is so damn big and you're trying to schedule for so many teams. But there's a couple of those that are going to be tough on Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Can they do it? We'll see. Get me inside the last, because I want to see what they look like with like 4 or 5 games to go. When you've had that compression and legs might start feeling a little bit heavy. Thing is, Messi's a damn warrior. He's not going to want to come off the field unless the game is done and dusted. And even then, it's going to be like 80th minute where you're like having to drag him off the field potentially. He's not going to want to come off, and he's up by 4 goals. It's going to be tough. But it's a team that wasn't good. And go ahead before I jump to this. Go ahead, John.
No. Well, I was going to say that if you've won Leagues Cup and you're already in the Sweet 16 in the CONCACAF Champions League Hemispheric Extravaganza, and you've already won Open Cup, then you're already into the Hemispheric Extravaganza, and I think that after September 27th, you'd have a better gauge of how much you need to do. Is it physically possible to get into the playoffs? Is schedule compression going to sit there and make it difficult for Inter-Messi CF on the whole? Do you even need to worry about it at that point? I think we'll know more after one. I think we'll know more after the Leagues Cup final, because then you're already in the round of 16. Then after Open Cup, then you will have won 2 trophies already in a year. And then what the margin is after September 27, toward the end of the season, I think will dictate how much of Lionel Messi, Jordi Alba, Sergi Busquets we will see for the Herons for the remaining part of that schedule.
And no one's going to want to play them if they get in the playoffs, of course. I mean,
no.
It's just going to be – everyone's going to be just begging them to miss the playoffs, because if they get in, it's going to feel inevitable. But my original point being here was the competitions are magical because you get stuff like You get stuff like Nashville, Miami, two clubs who were struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, obviously, way more so pre-Messi. That basically it's a different product at this point. New coaching staff, new roster, revitalized Joseph Martinez, who's making runs off the ball and is and looks like. I don't think he can give you what he gave you pre-injury.
No.
He can give you not for 90 minutes. He can give it to you for 60. And he gave it to you last night. He gave you what you needed. And Messi has done a lot of, I think, psychological work, handing in the penalties, getting him going. And we talked about this back in the day when Joseph and Miguel were here, when Amadon was here, where, Joseph, remember going into the 2018 playoffs, giving Amadon a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to not just get yourself ready, you're trying to get your teammates ready because you know that you need them to be successful. And even if Joseph can give you 50 or 60 minutes at full bore, busting his tail,
mm-hmm.
you'll take it. And then bring on Campana afterward. Or switch him however you want to do it.
Yeah.
But you have that. You had a Nashville team that had been struggling. It's now in a final. You had a Philly team who, Philly had been hot and cold all year.
Yeah.
LAFC had been cold since the end of CCL. Since they lost the CCL final, they've been cold, and they kept pointing back to schedule compression, but they could not string together wins.
Yeah.
You get in a cup competition, get something going your way, you can ride it. That's why we love competitions.
Yeah.
That's why they're hilarious and fun and magical and beautiful and stupid. And you can try and ride them. It's why you want to stay in them. Mm-hmm. Because you can ride this momentum back into the regular season. It's what teams want to do. And I'm really interested to see how Nashville and Miami ride them. But first, they have to get into a rock fight. And, hey, man, styles make fights. This should be interesting because I'm nervous about a team that likes to absorb pressure in Nashville against Miami, because Miami's fine just kind of playing through you and then eventually creating something because they have the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you have a Nashville team that is so damn good on the counter. And Sam Surridge looks like the right kind of 9 who's just, look, that's a great finish last night.
Yeah.
But a lot of times he's going to just do that, which is be in the right place, get it to Hani Mukhtar, and be where Hani needs you to be. If Hani's not going to finish it, be there for him to lay it off to you so you can finish it. And if that's what he can be, then that's an ace for them. That's great. But if he can provide them more and be like somebody who can take some of the pressure off Hani Mukhtar, because again, Nashville is such a individual reliant team.
Mm-hmm.
They rely so much on Hani Mukhtar. Look at the numbers this year. When he doesn't contribute a goal, they don't win.
What is it? 6-4, 8-4.
I think so. Yeah, they don't win when he doesn't contribute a goal. So if you can have Sam Surridge, be a direct 9, who could be on the end of stuff, but also maybe take some of the pressure off of Hani Mukhtar. Nashville's a different animal. We'll see, but it's been fun. I'm heartbroken for the Matildas this morning because I really wanted them to continue this run in Australia. That was awesome. England's just been real damn good. England's just been like motoring along here like a late 90s Corolla.
Yeah.
And just
the basic Honda Accord or
Camry. It's like the Beast was.
Yeah, true.
It's just going and like, yeah, it's not to say that England isn't fancy. England has it's not like England is some like blue collar underwhelming team. Like, England's got stars. England should be here, but when you get a team like that, I do always want to give them credit, and I am impressed when they can just absorb that pressure, and not the pressure on the field, the pressure off the field, and then just kind of motor on along.
Yep. Yeah,
sure, they got challenged. Like the Nigeria game was a huge gut check for them. Great. They passed it. Can they pass Spain? I don't know. That'll be a fun game.
Tony,
man, the third place game will be fun.
Yeah, Tony Gustafsson in his post-match press conference today, quote, on captivating the country, and this is courtesy of Nancy Armour. It's bigger than 90-minute football. I'm very disappointed we lost, but hopefully we won something else. Hopefully we won hearts and minds. This is not the end of something. This needs to be the start of something. And he also says, I don't think it's too early to say that the Matildas can win, but also think it's just the beginning of
100%.
something. Let's invest more and be genuine contenders for medals in tournaments.
It'd be really cool if, they picked up a trophy before Sam Kerr's done, because Sam Kerr is that MFer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is an absolute problem in all of the best ways possible. When that game was 2-1, they had a ball bounce out the edge of the box, and she half volleyed it over the bar, and like the second it landed her, I'm like, 2-2. And I was just stunned that she missed it. But man, she's fought back through getting back healthy. This team did a lot without her in this World Cup, and showed that they're more than just her. And it's real damn impressive. And yeah, England just, like you say, England suffered against Nigeria and got it across the line. And then the engine just turns over and runs normal. It's been real damn fun to watch.
Yeah.
We'll see what Spain's got for them.
Yeah. No doubt.
I want to see how combative that game is. It could be a lot of fun. But England keeps answering the call. They got to answer it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'd be really cool. Like, it's going to be fun either way. I think it'd be really cool to see Spain finish off this run. But I think you would be hard pressed to sit there and say, if England's lifting the trophy, like, well, that's unexpected. No, given what we saw in the tournament, that's going to feel like chalk.
Yes.
For that side.
Let's see what else is going on this morning before we go. Someone, I forget, one of the reporters at Serena Wiegmann's post-match press conference, phrased the beginning of the question of, that you dashed, Australia's hopes for winning a title. She goes, I'm sorry. Literally, it's just like, you know what you did? I'm sorry.
Hey, you know what? It would have been, like I said, it would have been really cool to see Australia play. That was really cool for a country that is getting better and better.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're the bad guy, and sometimes you got to win as the bad guy.
Yeah.
Don't apologize for winning as the bad guy.
No, it's like, hey, we did what we did.
Like, sorry, ruined your dreams. We got a cup to win.
Yeah.
And if you're England, 4 years ago, they outplayed the United States, in my opinion, in the World Cup. And undone. Look, you had the bad penalty. You had a game where I think if you played it a couple more times exactly like that, England might win it, probably wins it. And then they felt like they were the better team that day, and they didn't get it done. They didn't execute when they should have. And this is a redemption for them. And this is a chance for them to plant their flag and establish themselves as basically the power.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the U.S. is going to want to have something to say about that.
Yeah.
But everyone's going to have some prove it stuff after this. And this is a chance for England to do, it kind of works because they're England, coronation, so to speak.
Hey, there you go.
We just going to break out some 16th century references for England versus Spain and dash some ships on rocks, potentially, or not.
Yeah.
It should be fun either way, though.
Somebody dropped Sir Francis Drake reference or something like that as a part of the discussion.
Elizabeth the First standing on the shoreline. We're giving inspirational speech as if the oceans and the seas off the coast of England aren't treacherous enough for ships to get dashed on the rocks.
Yes. Let's see. A couple of other things to do before we go. Other transfer news. Feyenoord and Nice are the two clubs that want to sign Leeds winger Luis Sinisterra. Leeds manager Daniel Farke has confirmed Wilfred Nanto, Sinisterra, and Helder Costa-Ade are training away from the rest of the squad amidst their uncertainty. Nanto is apparently unhappy over being denied a Leeds exit. So we'll see what happens there. Understood 4 offers made by Everton, culminating in the latest one of £25 million, inclusive of add-ons plus a sell-on clause. Let's see. Brighton CEO Paul Barber suggested Manchester United will need to wait 5 years before thinking about signing Evan Ferguson, the 18-year-old striker. It's already getting plenty of interest. However, he signed a new deal back in April, keeping him until 2028. There's always going to be an offer. Monaco have agreed to sign Wilfred Singo from Torino. Fulham have ejected the €10 million bid from Monaco for Tosin Adarabioyo. Romeo Lavia started his Chelsea medical ahead of the £58 million move from Southampton. Bernardo Silva has agreed to a 1-year contract extension with Manchester City. Newcastle interested in Chelsea left-back Lewis Hall as a possible alternative to Kieran Tierney. 18-year-old made 11 first-team appearances for Chelsea last year, not included in the squad for their opener. Harry Kane gets to have his beginning.
He's staying on the field because that's something Kieran Tierney hasn't had in years.
Yes, that too. Harry Kane is getting ready for his in-league debut with Bayern. Let's see. What else is going on here? Lazio in talks over Hugo Lloris. We mentioned that. Zaniolo has arrived in Birmingham to undergo a medical with Aston Villa and complete negotiations over a potential season-long loan from Galatasaray. Unai Emery is keen to get cover for Emi Buendia. Nottingham Forest in talks to sign Arsenal left-back Nuno Tavares on a season-long loan. David Washington will have a Chelsea medical by Thursday ahead of his move from Santos to Chelsea for $17 million. 18-year-old Brazilian scored in his opening 2 matches in the Brasileiro, but just made 9 appearances for Santos. Sheffield United have signed Tom Davis on a free, former Everton midfielder. Southampton's monitoring Gink for Joseph Paintzel. Let's see. What else am I missing here? Okay, that's your early returns. A couple of other things out of the NWSL before we get into what's going on. The NWSL and the PA are going to arbitration over free agency. It looks like the sale value of the Red Stars, according to Sandra Herrera, is $35.5 million. And the NWSL is fining Kansas City for taking a charter flight in July. According to Meg Linehan, the NWSL has fined Kansas City over $55,000 for the use of a charter flight between Kansas City and Louisville. Sources requested anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss a fine the NWSL did not intend to announce publicly. The Current provided a statement to The Athletic following a request, which reads, "This decision was made to protect the health and safety of our players with no direct flights to Louisville, multiple injuries in our third away game in less than 2 weeks, which included multiple coast-to-coast time changes, 100-degree heat in Orlando and Portland's turf fields. Our focus was on the well-being of our players," end quote. In a letter sent to players acquired by The Athletic, Current wrote that the only commercial options available in the appropriate time frame required a layover and 2 traveling groups with a departure date of July 5th, meaning an extra night in a hotel. The game against Racing was the last of 3 straight road games. In that letter, Current called the amount charged by the league a materially high fine. No specific guidance on the use of charter flights in the league's CBA with the NWSL Players Association. Section 12.1 states, quote, "Team travel greater than 350 miles shall be by air on regular commercial carriers when reasonably practical. Teams are also required to use reasonable efforts to book direct flights and keep players out of middle seats." However, the NWSL does have, in fact, a charter flight policy that is not public. 2 league sources granted anonymity told The Athletic policy's only been shared via email to teams, not been added to the league's operations manual to the best of their knowledge. You can book charter flights under certain limited scenarios with league approval, including a lack of direct flights at suitable times during a run of back-to-back games. There's also a carve-out for postseason games, and the teams have the ability to request charter flights in an emergency, which could include hazardous weather, medical situation, or other scenarios. Policy states that the final decision lies with the commissioner. So, harumph on the NWSL for dropping a $55,000 fine on Kansas City for charter flights. Let's see. Today, what you can watch. Trust me, there's a lot, or at least there's a lot tomorrow. College kicks off tomorrow. Super Cup at 3 o'clock.
Bless.
Yes. Manchester City Sevilla is at 3 on CBS Sports Network. USL Championship, San Antonio and RGV's on the deuce at 9. Tuda NA is simulcasting Super Cup at 3. USL Championship on the Plus, Orange County and Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Bob Lilly has probably already started yelling at his players in Irvine, California. It's a 10 o'clock start. Paramount Plus has the Argentine Primera, 3:30 and 6. And that'll get you through your Wednesday. So what else is on your mind, Jarrett, before we go?
Oh, European qualifiers are ongoing. Go ahead and keep up with those if you'd like, because they will be stupid.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, that is true.
You get back into league play this week. We'll probably do it on Friday, whip around.
Yes, we will.
Patent pending, trademark coming, possibly, maybe soon. I don't know. Maybe never.
Probably.
But we get back into league play this week. Keep an eye on the socials. Trust your source. Check your sources as always.
Yes.
Rumors don't mean shit. Played to the last minute to drop to remove our PG-13 rating, but rumors don't always mean shit.
Yes.
If a club in Spain wants to go get Thiago Almada, great. They want to shoot their shot, great. You want to shoot your shot at a celebrity, great. Because shooting your shot and acquiring are two different things. We can talk about rumors all day long. We can talk about theoreticals all day long. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Also factor in what the player may or may not want.
Yes.
So we'll see. All of it's going to be dumb and weird. And I'm ready for this thing to get back to league play because I miss watching more than 2 games a week.
Correct. Alan Chapman, according to Mike Conti, is the referee for Sunday's Atlanta United match in Seattle. Kevin Terry Jr. is your VAR.
Oh, God, I forgot you got to go to Seattle. That's actually going to be really interesting, though, and especially considering Atlanta's really imprinting themselves on the concept of Seattle. And I know we've talked to Nico about, really liking what Gonzo is as a manager.
Yeah.
And I want to see what the reaction is for him going home.
Yep. That's going to be fun. Gustavo says it's time for the Lionesses to be champs. I wonder, hola, Gustavo. I wonder if England would be the only country to be both men's and women's World Cup champs. I think so. We'll have to go and have the research department take a peek on that. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. Nico Moreno for Thursdays with Nico joining us at 10:30. And so it'll be Thursday Thoughts. We're going to be getting ready for big stuff, obviously.
Germany's got Women's World Cup.
Yes, that is true. And I don't know if there's anybody who's done it simultaneously. I don't think we have a simultaneous.
Yeah. No,
so,
I don't think so.
No, so we'll keep an eye on all that stuff. Plenty to talk about tomorrow. Nico joining us at 10:30. Friday is a 9 o'clock start, I'm imagining, because we have to catch up with the coaches from the twos before they get ready for the match at Montclair State on Monday against Red Bulls. So 9 o'clock start on Friday morning. Our friends from Beyond Goals, probably Michael Parkhurst, unless he's on the golf course, getting his morning breakfast ball is at 9:30. 10 o'clock will start the weekend whip around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. Jarrett, since you are here, send us home.
Mucho platio.
What he said. End of the show. That means we get to do this. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.